We continue now at the top of Daf Kuf Bezum and Bezum Meseches Shabbos. This is Shabbos Daf 122b. The Gemara here is in the middle of asking a question from a brisa, which said that if the majority of people at a Mesiba were Jewish, then they wouldn't be allowed to derive benefit from the candles. And the Gemara was asking a question because we said that even in situations of Makiro, it is possible either because Ner Lechad Ner Lameya or because of the fact that they're not present that you could derive benefit. So why over here are we so strict? And the Gemara answers now the same answer we gave before. Adaita Deruba Midliki. It was surely lit on behalf of the majority. It's worse than just knowing the person being Makiro, being a friend of the non-Jew. Here the majority are Jewish. Rashi again says, Adaita Deruba Hilkach Yisrael Iker. The Jews in this Mesiba become the Iker, and therefore it's problematic. And Rashi says, Umechzal mechzanami, when it comes to 50-50, the Brisa said it's a problem even if it's 50% Jewish people at the Mesiba. Leko lemeka malo demilsa. You don't know who was this lit for. It could be the person lighting the fire was doing it for the Jews. It could be it was for the non-Jews. And Rashi explains, but in our original case that Abai and Rava were discussing, where it's just one non-Jew and one Jew, and the non-Jew who's lighting is also using the light, he certainly did it mainly for himself. And since we have the concept of ner la'echad ner lameya, we allow it. Gemara continues with the story. Shmuel ikla levei Avin Turan. Shmuel went to the house of Avin in Turan. Asa hahu nachri adlik sharga, and a certain non-Jew came and he lit a candle. Ahadrini Shmuel ape. So Shmuel turned his face around. He didn't want to derive benefit from the candle. Kevin dechazed the icy star, but then he saw that the non-Jew was bringing a document v'kakari, and he was reading the document by the light of the candle. Omar, he said, Adaita de nafshe hu the adlik. He's doing it obviously for himself. Adrinu iu la'ape gave sharga. So he turned his face toward the candle, because now it was not really being done for him, so he's allowed to derive benefit on Shabbos. Hadron alach kol kisvei, that is the end of parak kol kisvei, and we will begin the next parak, kol hakelim. If you are getting benefit from these videos, please take a look at the description box below. You can see various ways to support this channel. We now begin the next parak. The Mishnah says, kol hakelim nitolin b'Shabbos. All utensils, all vessels can be carried on Shabbos. It's not a problem of muksa. V'dal sosein imon, and you can also take their doors. Let's say these kalim have doors. You can carry their doors as well. Not a problem of muksa. Afa pishin isparku, even if the doors came off of the original kalim. Rashi here says, Kol hakelim nitolan b'Shabbos v'dal sosein imoim. Kol hakelim sheyesh lahem delosos. All vessels which have doors could go in sheda tevo migdal. You have a box, you have a chest, something like that. Nitolan b'Shabbos v'dalsos sheyesh lahem betzidan imon nitolan imon. You can carry them and their doors. Ve'afa pishin isparku hadlosos min hakelim nitolan. Even if the doors come off, you can carry. Ve'in domin ledalsos habayis. Rashi says an important point. This is not similar to doors of a house. She'ein nitolan. Doors of a house cannot be moved on Shabbos. Because the house is not a kli, the house is built into the ground. But over here, the doors of kalim become kalim because the entire thing is a kli. So therefore, it is mutter to carry around the doors of kalim, and that's why the Mishnah continues here. Don't compare these to the doors of a house, because those are not considered muchan on Shabbos. Those are a problem of muksa. The Mishnah continues, no till adam kornas lefatzea bo es ha'agozin. A person can pick up a hammer to crack open a nut on Shabbos. Kardom, a person can take an axe. Lachtoch bo es ha'tevela, to cut the pressed figs. Megiro logor bo es ha'gvina, can take a saw if he wants to cut cheese on Shabbos. Magreifo, let's say a shovel, he can take a shovel. Ligrof bo es ha'grogros, to shovel the dried figs. Es ha'reches ve'es ha'mazlik, he can take a pitchfork. Loses, all of the cotton, to use it to feed a cotton. Es ha'kush, he can use a spindle. Ve'es ha'karkar, karkar also is a utensil that was used as part of separating the threads on a loom. Litchov bo, he can again stick that in food as well, use it for food. Machat shal yad, he can take a small needle, litol bo esakots, to take out a thorn. V'shal sakoim, he can take a thicker, a larger needle that was used for sackcloth. Lefsoach bo esadelis, he can use that to open up a door, use it basically as a key. The Gemara says, Kol hakelim nitolen v'afa pish shenisparku b'Shabbos. Does the Mishnah mean to say that you can carry kalim and the doors, even if it was taken apart on Shabbos, and for sure you could carry the doors if they were taken off in the weekday. That's what it sounds like in the Mishnah. It sounds like if they're detached on Shabbos, even if they're detached on Shabbos, you can move the doors, and if they're detached on weekdays, for sure. Gemara says Adarab, on the contrary, b'Shabbos muchonin al gabe avian. If the door came off on Shabbos, so when Shabbos began, it was part of the kli. Certainly, it shouldn't be muksa. Bechol, but if it was taken off during the weekday, ein muchonin al gabe avian. Then already the door's never been part of the kli when Shabbos started. That actually should be problematic. So Amar Abaye says Hachi Kamer. Here's how you read the Mishnah: Kol hakelim nitalim b'Shabbos. All vessels can be taken on Shabbos. V'dal sosein iman, and the doors as well. Afal pishin esparku b'chol, and that's the point of the Mishnah. Even though it was taken off on a weekday, nitalim b'Shabbos, you can still carry the doors on Shabbos. In other words, the problem was that the Mishnah, it wasn't so much a problem that if it comes off on weekdays, for sure you can't carry it on Shabbos. The problem was that the implication of the Mishnah was that if it comes off on weekdays, you're better off. It's more likely to be mutter than if it came off on Shabbos, and that the Gemara rejects. The Gemara says, no, the Mishnah is just saying that if it came off on a weekday, which is the more problematic situation, even in that situation, you're allowed to carry it on Shabbos. Gemara says, Ton Rabban, we learned in a brisa, Delas shel Sheda v'shel Teva v'shel Migdol. If you have again a door of a chest or a closet or a box or something along those lines, Notlin, you're allowed to carry the door. Avalom, you're allowed to take the door. I should say, you're allowed to take the door off of the Sheda Teva Migdol. You can take it off the box. You can take it off the chest. Avalom achzirin, but on Shabbos, you're not allowed to put the door back on. V'shalul shel tarnagolim. Now, if it's a door on a chicken coop, lo notlin v'lo machzir. You're not allowed to take the door off. You're not allowed to put the door back on. Gemara says, Bishlam shalul shel tarnagolim. I understand when we're talking about a chicken coop, kasavar kevan de mechabri ba'ara. This brisa holds, since the chicken coop is attached to the ground, it's built into the ground. Yesh binyan bekarka, yesh stir bekarka. There's a principle that there is building when things are attached to the ground. That's called building if you do construction on them. It's called destroying if you take them apart. Those are malachas on Shabbos. It's going to be a problem. But if you're talking about utensils like a sheda, teva, and migdal, so my kosavar, what's going on in this brisa? Ikosavar yesh binyan b'kelim. If this brisa holds that there is such a thing as a problem of bona, of building by kelim, yesh stira b'kelim, then there should be a problem taking apart. Why would it be that there's a problem of binyan, but there's no problem to take it apart? Notlin, you're allowed to take it apart, but you can't put it back on. That doesn't make sense. The ain't stira b'kelim, and if there's no destroying by kelim, ain't binyan b'kelim, there won't be a problem of building. If there's no problem of destroying, there's no problem of building. So it should either be mutter to put it on and take it off, or either be usher to put it on and take it off. You shouldn't make a distinction and say that you're allowed to take it off, you can't put it back. So Amar Abaye says, Liolam kosavar yesh binyan b'kelim v'yesh stir b'kelim. This brisa holds that there's a problem of building and there's a problem of destroying when it comes to kelim. V'shenitzalu kamar, you got to change the words of the brisa. The brisa never said you're allowed to take it apart. The brisa simply said, if you have a taken apart sheda, teva, and migdal, you are not allowed to put it back together. So Amar le Rava said back to Abaye, Shtei Tshuvas b'davar. I have two responses to this answer. Chada de notlin katani. First of all, the brisa actually says the word notlin, implying you're allowed to take it apart on Shabbos. Not like Abaye saying that if it was taken apart, then you're not allowed to put it back together. V'yod my avol lo machzir. And also the next line is, but you're not allowed to put it back together, implying, but the word avol implies that you are allowed to take it apart, but you're not allowed to put it back together. Elama Rava, rather Rava says, read the brisa in the way it's written. Kasavar ein binyan b'kelim ve'ein stir b'kelim. This brisa holds there's no problem of binyan, there's no problem of stir by kelim at all. In theory, you should have been able to take it apart and put it back together. Why can't you put it back together? The reason why you can't put it back together is we're afraid you're going to do it in a tight fashion. Rashi says, you're going to use a nail and you're going to use pegs. You're going to do it in a strong fashion. That's going to be called a gemar malacha. We're not afraid of binyan here. We're afraid of the issue of makav patish, putting the final touch on something. In this case, if you finish it off in a strong fashion, according to Rashi, that's going to be makav patish, and that has nothing to do with binyan. That's a different av malach of the 39 malachas, and it's really just a gezerah. It's a decree that maybe you're going to come to do makav patish, so that's why we don't allow you to put it back together, but to take it apart, there is no such problem. The Gemara continues at the two dots, no teladim kornas. The end of the Mishnah said you're allowed to take, let's say, a hammer to open up a nut. Amar Rav Yehuda. Rav Yehuda said, kornas shalagozin lefatzei boes hagozin. You're allowed to take a hammer that's designated for opening up nuts and use it to open up nuts. Aval shal nafachin, but if you take a smith's hammer, you take a hammer that's designated for other purposes, Lo, then you can't use that hammer, which is designated for purposes that are usr, and then say, oh, I'm going to do something mutter with this on Shabbos. Kasavar, because Rabbi Yehuda holds, davar shemalachto le'isr, if you have an item, a kli, that's designated for a forbidden purpose on Shabbos, afilo l'tzorach gufo asr, even if you're using it for some other malacha of heter, that's l'tzorach gufo, even if you're doing that, it's going to be a problem. Rashi says here, l'tzorach gufo, shegufo tzorach od l'malacha achars, he needs it for some other malacha, shal heter, which is a mutter malacha, ein metaltalon oso la'osa malacha. You can't move the item for that malacha. V'kol shegein main sarach legufo elo lifnos mekomo dein metalton. Now, certainly, if you don't need to use it, you just want the area that it's in. You want to move it to sit down on a chair that it's on. That's for sure a problem. That's even worse. If you can't use it for something beneficial on Shabbos, you certainly can't just move it just because you want the area. That's what Rav Yehuda's opinion is. Basically, he's strict on what we call a kli shemalachto le'isr. Again, davar shemalachto le'isr, what we call a kli shemalachto le'isr, afilo tzorach gufo asr. Even if you're using it for a mutter purpose, it is asr. Amar le Rabba, Rabba says back to Rav Yehuda, elameat, according to you, seifa de katani. Look at the end of the mission. It says, v'esareches, v'esamazleg loses, olav lekatan. It says you can use a pitchfork to feed a minor. Reches umazleg mim yachtele lekatan. Do you use these kind of forks to feed katanim? It's not designated for that. Clearly, this is designated for malacha, and we're saying since you're doing something mutter, it's okay. So Elo Amar Rabba, rather Rabba says kornis shel nafachim. We're talking about a smith's hammer. We're talking about a professional hammer. Lefatzei bo esagozim, but you can use it for cracking open nuts because that's something that's mutter on Shabbos. Kasavar, because Rabba holds, and we'll continue with what Rabba holds in the next video on Daf Kuf Chav Gimel Amud Aleph.